Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do on our Bug is we gotta pull the seats out. The rear seats, they just pop out, they're real easy. But VW seats are a little bit different from your typical car. So instead of bolting in, these actually just use the sliders, and they slide out of the sliders that are welded to the floor and to the transmission tunnel. So on earlier VWs, they slide forward and come out. On the older ones, and I know 74 is the older style or the newer style. The crossover is somewhere around the early 70s. I'm not 100% sure, but there's a little tab on them. These slide rearward all the way out of the sliders, and there's a little tab that you have to press at the same time. So there's really, honestly, in most Bugs, the seats don't slide super well. So you need a helper, because you have to actuate the lever that's in between the two seats, slide it back, and depress that tab to get them out. So it's a little tricky. And then I'm going to push the seat back. I've already lubed this up with some WD-40. Okay, so the seat slid back, and then there is a little tab. So right under here, under the very front center, so these seats have 3 sliders. They've got one on the rear end on both sides, then they have one in the center, and there's a little tab right in the middle. Okay. This is the center slider. There is a tab right back here. Kind of hard to see. You can see the U shape right there. That has to be pressed down. You press this down, and there's a catch on the front of the seat that stops it. There you go. Now my arm's in the way. Okay. Anyways, that's the tab that you got to do. So that tab is real tricky to get to while you're moving the seats. So to try to make this easier, I'm just going to use this scraper as a wedge. Got it? There we go. That's all we needed. Then we can fold the seat, push it. You still got to go back the rest of the way. The outside slider is sticking. I can't quite get it all the way out, so we're just going to kind of muscle it around a little bit. Ah, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. All right, and then I'll fold it and just kind of roll it out. So there's the driver's seat. Now we'll shoot the passenger seat from the other side so you can see the mechanism. All right, so this is the lever here on a 74. On the earlier Bugs, it's a fold style lever like this, okay? But it's down here. On the newer Bugs, it's this style of lever. So basically you push that, get it back to about there, slide this down into the, there we go, slide that into that little spring catch. There we go. Hey guys, we've got our 74 Beetle seats out, and this is the driver's side. And this is our upholstery kit that we picked up from TMI, and I want to show you a couple of the really cool things we got. First, we got brand new seat foams. So this is pretty well broken down and fairly uncomfortable. I mean, that right there, that's a hard bar right there. It's not gonna feel super comfortable. These are gonna be really, really nice. This is your headrest piece, your backrest, and then your base. I'm gonna go ahead and move these aside. This is the cool part. So we called up TMI and we told them what we were doing, and we picked out some colors. They sent us some color keys. And this is what we ended up going with, and this matches the exterior color scheme that we have planned. So this is a gorgeous turquoise houndstooth that has been sewn into a cream vinyl. I think this is gonna look so good. That's the base. This pattern goes through the door panels as well. We'll show you those on another video when we install the door panels. These are fairly simple seat covers to install. They've got a little drawstring here. See that? So you really don't have a ton of work to do on recovering these. But let's go ahead and get started. So we'll set these aside so they don't get dirty. Okay, so first things first, we gotta take off all the plastic. These are just held on with a couple of screws. Now some of this plastic is damaged, so we'll have to do some repairs on this later, and we're also gonna paint these anyways so that they match the rest of the upholstery. We're gonna take these off and set those aside. All right, this knob just kinda pulls off. That screw is broken. That screw is rusted. Okay, then this can come off. Then we need to separate the two halves. So in order to separate the top and the bottom, we have a 10mm Allen, which is pretty big. I'm just gonna pop that right in there. Actually amazed that that came out as easy as it did. That there. Fold this down and all right. There's the back. I always do the base first. That way the base is done and I can actually sit the top piece onto the base and work with it upright so it's not so fumbly. All right, so now let's see. I'm gonna take a couple more screws out here. Earlier I said I was going to show you the way these seats slide. So these are the two rear sliders, and then you've got your center slider. This right here, this is the tab that little hook that was underneath catches. So basically that catches right here, and when you pull it all the way back, this stops it, and that keeps the seat from sliding out of the mounts while you're driving and, you know, adjusting your seat or whatever. You just gotta pry that down, so it's not too bad. All right, so this seat has had some work done, so we gotta pull some zip ties off. Okay, so watch out for the little Sharpie points right here, here, and here. Also, here, 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 and probably other places. I'm not sure where those are. I'll know when I stab one 32 feet into one of my fingers. So all of the strings have been zip tied to the frame, so I'm just gonna cut the main cord here. You can see this here. So this is the string for the front half, okay? And it's tied here and in the same place on the other side. So we'll reuse those locations for the new one. By the way, these little sharp points, this is to capture the upholstery. And if you'll notice here, the original seat is torn. So that's because this used to be all the way up, wrapped over, and it tore it. Now it's a nice hot day here in Oklahoma. It's about 90 degrees and super humid right now. So I don't have to worry about the vinyl needing to heat up. Normally when you do a set of seat covers, if it's honestly, if it's colder than about 75 degrees, you're probably gonna wanna put these somewhere warm, let them warm up. If it's a sunny day, you can put them outside and let them catch a lot of heat from the sun, and that'll help them stretch a little bit better. It's really hot in here right now, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so I've got all of the sides loose. And then there's a listing wire here, which we may have to reuse on our other seat. So I'm just gonna carefully pry this up and pull it off of that spike. It was only attached to this one. It wasn't attached to these. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna flip this over. Oh my gosh, there's some excellent stuff in here. All right, so our original seat cover goes in the trash. So let's see, we've got some,
oh, texture.
Looks like box carpet. Get all that off. Then we'll take this foam off. Woven placemat for my dinner table. I think this is the original padding. It looks like it's super crusty and honestly really gross. So we're gonna get this out of here. And then there's the classic cardboard protector. Okay, so now we're down to the base seat. Give me a couple minutes, I'm gonna make sure this center here is cleaned out. All right, so I got a piece of aluminum, just aluminum. You can use just about anything, a coat hanger would work. I just want to make sure that all of the mud daubers were out. Okay, now for the most part, the seat frame is in really good shape. Don't have any rust really to speak of. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna paint this. I'm not gonna do anything because it's already super clean. All I'm gonna do is knock some of the dirt off with a nylon brush. Now I'm just gonna fog this down with some brake cleaner just to make it nicer. Get any of that mud off. Now we're ready to upholster. So first thing we've done, we cleaned down the bench because we are gonna have the upholstery upside down and whatnot. We just wanna keep it nice and clean. We're gonna take our foam. The foam just sits on here. It doesn't really get clamped down or anything. You don't wanna go through this foam because that can wear through to the upholstery and cause damage later on. So we're just gonna sit that on there. Just kind of slides on like that. Pull it down snug. Now, for the base, it's pretty easy to put this on. The the seat back, is a little more difficult. I'm gonna show you a trick for that here in a minute. But I tell you what, I really just don't want to take a risk on this fabric getting stained or damaged. So I'm gonna do one more trick real quick. Hold on. All right, so in order to protect the upholstery, specifically the fabric, because I'm not super worried about the vinyl, it'll clean, but the fabric could take a stain. So I'm gonna use this protective wrap. Now this one in particular is called road wrap. You can use collision wrap or anything like that. It's just got a very light adhesive. I'm just gonna wrap this to cover. So now I will roll the seat over. This is the original listing wire out of the other seat. And this is not cut for it. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna fold this over and I'll make a little snick on one end right here, just on one side, and then I'm gonna slide this listing wire in. So I'm just gonna take a razor blade. Now that I've got this little hole cut, I'm just gonna take the listing wire and carefully slide it in. You can do this, honestly it's probably a little easier if you do it before you put the seat cover on, but if I'm being honest, I forgot. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hook this listing wire over here, then I will do the front part. So I'm gonna pull the upholstery out from underneath. Also make sure that the string is out. I've got my listing wire in here. That's gonna make it nice and easy to pull this whole flap over. This is gonna be the tough one. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one first. And in order to do that, I'm gonna pull these edges around the front of the frame. Pull, and all you wanna do is get this part of it. You don't wanna get above the stitch. Okay, so we got rained out yesterday. When the rain starts falling, this place gets a little noisy, so we stopped so that you guys could actually hear what I'm saying. So we're gonna go back to the front of the seat cover here, and we've got these little prongs right here. Well, on the previous seat, these prongs had torn through the upholstery. And so to avoid that, I'm going to put a listing wire inside this front section. Just about 6-8 inches is all you need. This is actually baling wire, and we'll be able to get this put in here, and then we'll pull this over these tabs and it'll snag, and then this will get hooked like that. This will hook like that inside the vinyl so that it can't tear out. In order to do that, we have to be really careful because remember, there is that drawstring inside and we don't want to cut it. So all I'm going to do is set this about here. So I'm gonna cut this all the way over about here, and I'm just gonna do a small incision with a nice fresh razor blade. And I'm just gonna barely cut into the vinyl. So this is my first cut, and I bend it, and I haven't gone all the way through, which is good. I'm just gonna barely touch that a little bit, just to get through the vinyl itself. Okay, so now I can see the cord, and the cord is right up there at the top. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right at the top of this snick that I made. Okay, so then, and this is the same for doing the rear one. Then I'm just going to take this, I want this as straight as I can get it. Wire as straight as I can get it. If the edge of your wire is sharp, you can buzz it down on a sander or something like that. But it shouldn't be too bad. Just slide that in. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Now we've got the wire. Now we can pull up here. Now we're going to have to bend that wire a little bit. Get that first one up and over. Get the second one up and over. Perfect. Just like that. So now what's cool is because we have this listing wire, we can actually form that listing wire a little bit around the frame, which will help pocket this in and make it look real nice. But we've got these tabs right here, and the listing wire is underneath the sharp tab. Okay. Now we can do the rear one, and Josie's gonna help me with that. So she's gonna grab half and I'm gonna grab half. Put your fingers behind the seam, pull tight and push down on the seat, flip it over, get the center two. Now then we can do the corner. You can do the corner on one at a time. And it doesn't have to pierce the vinyl, it just needs to grab it. One thing you don't want to do is get this stitch line above here. So you wouldn't want to pull this all the way back and hook above the stitch line because it's not, the vinyl is only one layer thick at that point. Alright, so now our seat is actually, the seat cover is done for the most part. I'm just going to tuck some of this, pull around here, and we're going to pull this up and around. We're just going to take our string, pull it through, just do a basic knot, tie that off on one side, then we'll go to the other one. It doesn't hurt to tie this off a few different times. Razor blade, clip off the excess. Once you're sure you're done, don't cut that excess off unless you are sure you are done tying off. Now, just want to show you this real quick. See this dirt? This was a clean top, but we still picked up some dirt. This will clean off really easily. This, we run the risk of, you know, staining or whatever, so that's why we put this protective cover on. Now we're going to keep this cover on while we do the back. Let's go ahead and get the back ready. Okay, now we've got our seat back ready to go, and let me tell you a little story about what happened. So apparently our 74 bug is actually a 73. It's titled as a 74, but the VIN and the trim plate, all that, it's actually a 73. So the problem that created was we ordered our seat covers for a 74. Didn't really think to check to see if the seats had been changed out or anything, which is a fairly common thing on bugs. VW changed the seat design on the seat back. The bottom is the same for 73 up, but the seat back changed quite a bit. In fact, 70 to 72 is one style. 73 is a 1 year only style, which is what we had. and 74 runs through 74 to 76, and then it's 77 to 79. So we were lucky enough to find a set of 74 seat backs locally from a guy I know, and so we went ahead and picked that up. Now we are ready to upholster this. All right, so first we're gonna pop this little piece of plastic off. This takes a little bit of effort. There we go. That way, when we have the new upholstery on, we can just put a small cut in here and pop that back on. So, first things first, on the bottom, just like the others, these are fold over tabs. So we've got to unfold these tabs here. These tabs are folded in from the back side, and they go through the front upholstery, and the back upholstery folds over and clips in, and that's what holds it all together. Basically, these three prongs are what hold it all together. These seat covers are not in great shape. I'm just going to cut them. Now, we're not going to cut this part because there's a listing wire in here, and I want to reuse that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and slice this, since these covers are destroyed and not reusable. Around the seat back adjustment, we're just going to pop this out around it. Now we have new foams, so all of this goes in the trash. The headrest foam isn't too bad, but again, we've got new ones, but that's not too bad. So with our new upholstery, we got the new foams, and this is it. It's very simple. It just drops in just like that. Don't really need to do anything else. I'm gonna sit that aside for a second. All right, so we've got our seat back on the bench, and we've got our main foam. We're just gonna slide this in here. It just sits on it. You could hog ring it to the seat frame if you wanted to. All right, so we've got our seat on the bench, and we've got our new foam. Take care of looking at this, because that'll come in important later. So we're just gonna go ahead and sit the foam. Now sometimes you can just leave the foam on and not do anything with it, not secure it. I'm gonna go ahead and hog ring in a couple of places, top and bottom, just to hold it in place. I'm gonna roll that over just a little bit and throw a hog ring right there. Okay, and that's just kind of hold it in place. And then we're gonna do the same at the top. That just holds it in place so that we can do the next part, which is the headrest. So the headrest slides right here, and then this flap right here will cover the end of the foam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stand this up so you can see what I'm doing here. Just push, pull carefully, because you don't want to tear the foam. Okay, so now our seat has new foam on it, and it's ready to go. Let's get our seat cover. Okay, so before we start wrapping this upholstery, we've got to take the listing wires out of the old covers. Now, I cut these out. This is the front listing wire. It's pretty heavy gauge, and it'll go here on this piece. And this will be the rear listing wire. We'll just cut these out here real quick. And then there's also another piece of listing wire that's inside the seat cover. So this one goes into a little flap that is at the shoulder. Okay, so this listing wire goes in here, and this little flap will go through this foam and pull the seat cover tight to the frame. And we'll do that here in a bit. But first, we got to put these listing wires in. Okay, so the front, it's a little difficult to get that in with the fabric layer, but it's not too bad. Now, we're gonna pull this seat cover inside out. All right? We don't have to go all the way inside out, but we want to get to this. Okay, so here's this listing wire. We're gonna slide that in here. So, a couple of real quick tricks. In order to make the seat cover slide over this foam can grab, especially on this headliner. We're gonna use a trash bag. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna slip this over. We're gonna find that cut in the foam and we're just gonna carefully slice the bag over that area. All right, so we've cut the bag and I'm just gonna pull this apart so you can see what you're looking at inside the seat frame here. So you've got this ridge right here, this plate, and you've got some spikes on the back side, okay? That is what this will go to. So once you get that passed through, you can just come back here, go through the trash bag and pull this up to go up in over those spikes. That's what you're after right there. All right, so now we've got the main center headrest pulled in tight. Now we can stand the seat up, and all we're gonna do is pull the seat cover down over. Now we've got our upholstery adjusted side to side so that the seam is landing in about the same place on the foam. It's bowed up right here, but that will correct itself once we get this pulled over tight. This center or the front section comes over, it'll hook on these, and then the rear piece will get pulled down and hook over those, and then we'll fold them over. So I'm just gonna kind of use my body a little bit to push down on the seat. I'm gonna pull tight, pull all the way back. Pierce that there, snap it in. There we go. Okay, then the back comes over and we're going to do the exact same thing. Snap it like that. Pull this tight to where we can see it. Make sure we've got that listing wire captured. Roll it. Make sure it's punctured. Do the same on the end. Last thing, we take our little hammer and we're going to tap these. And that is our seat back. And now we can put this together on the seat bottom. Seat back just drops right over those. This is a 10mm Allen socket. And all we got to do is pull the seat forward till we find that position right there. We'll get the other one started. All right, and there you have it. All right, now the last thing we need to do is reinstall this. So we've got our knob right here. This is the little metal piece. We're just gonna slice right there. This is the movement of travel. You can see that little indentation. And that's what this clips into. So we're just gonna push right there, slice right to there. All right, then we can take this, and this just slides on it. There we go. And that just snaps in place. And that's all there is to upholstering a 74 VW Bug bucket seat. Now remember, this is going into our 73 Bug, but these are 74 seats. I will point out that we don't have our plastic trim on yet. That's because the originals are just not in good enough shape, so I have to order some new ones, and we'll throw those on later on. I'm gonna toss these in the car. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe. See ya. Let's make magic.